Joining me now from Washington is Corey Lewandowski, former campaign manager for President Donald Trump. Corey, you're back out on the campaign trail with President Trump. What is your campaign strategy now to try and get the Republicans elected across the country?
Well, the strategy that this president has employed is to remind the people who are going to the ballot on Tuesday what has been accomplished in the first 2 years of his administration. And you've seen this week historic job numbers coming out. More Americans are working today than ever have in the history of our country. The unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans are at record lows. And the opportunity to continue that path of economic security is what the president and the vice president are reminding the people is on the ballot on Tuesday. These two individuals, the president and the vice president, have crisscrossed the country over the last 2 weeks, campaigning for House members and Senate members to make sure that the Republicans return to the majority in January of next year after this November election, because if they don't, we go backwards. We go back to a time of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer arguably running the country, even if Chuck is in the minority. So the Republicans' policies are on the ballot and the president's policies are on the ballot on Tuesday this coming week.
Now, you're talking about the economy, but it seems that the president is talking about immigration and the caravan and making some very racially charged comments. Why is the president focusing so heavily on immigration and doing so with this kind of tone?
Well, because the issue of national security is a critical one to every American, and I believe it's the president's job, his foremost job, to make sure that all people of our country are safe from enemies both foreign and domestic. And there is no country in the world that would allow a caravan of thousands of people to simply come across their borders unstopped, unsolicited. So this president has gone out and said he will not allow that. We are a nation of laws. And if we want to change our laws so that we have an immigration system based on how Canada does or Australia does, which is a merit-based system, then that's a discussion we can have. But by no means are we a nation that simply allows people to come in unchecked, unsolicited, without following the protocols. And if these people who are coming here are coming to seek political asylum, they've had the opportunity to seek that asylum in the country of Mexico, who's offered them political asylum, but they haven't wanted that. So what this president has said and what he has done is draw a line in the sand.
But that line in the sand is 10 to 15,000 troops on the border. And now the president's saying on Thursday that he would have the military open fire on those migrants if they were to start throwing rocks. That seems like an extraordinary thing for a president to say. He's characterizing this as an invasion, but it's not a military invasion. These are migrants walking up from Mexico.
Well, can you imagine for 1 second if any other country in the world had this going on, what the outrage would be? Can you imagine for 1 second if 15,000 individuals tried to cross into Israel? I don't know if you've ever been there, but they have a wall that surrounds their country. They have armed guards at every entry into the country. Same would be true anywhere else in the Middle East. And for that matter, we have armed guards that protect and support the border between our two great countries. You don't just get to cross into Canada or to come into the United States illegally, and we have the longest, friendliest border in the world. So what makes this any different? What gives these people the right to come into our country unsolicited, regardless of if they're from Honduras or anywhere else? There is a process to become an asylum seeker into the United States. We take in over 1 million immigrants a year, more than any other country in the world. And to allow individuals who decide at their own discretion when they want to just come into the country would never be tolerated in any other country, including Canada.
Here in Canada, we've had 36,000 people walk illegally across the border from the United States to Canada over the last 2 years, and the Trump administration has done nothing to stop that.
Well, think about it. Look, we don't even know within a number of 1 million to 2 million people how many illegals are currently in our country. Some estimates, MIT has estimated it's close to 22 million people that are in the country illegally. If that is the case, that's literally the population of the state of Florida, our third largest state in the country. So we have to control this. We have to seal our borders. We have to make sure that we know who's coming in. And then we give people the right through a due process to come to the country legally. Why would that be so controversial? I don't understand the issue of immigration as a controversy because no other country in the world would allow it. Canada would never allow 100,000, 10,000, or 5,000 people to simply come into their country illegally without knowing who those people are. Your immigration system...
But thousands have come across in the last 2 years.
If Justin Trudeau knew that there was a caravan coming from Montana into Canada, what would he do? He would alert the Canadian Mounties. He would make sure that they were stopped at the border, particularly if you had no indication of who those individuals were, what their criminal histories were, or why they were coming. And so we have seen now, unequivocally, it has been reported, individuals who are coming into this country as part of this caravan are not the best and brightest. Some are seeking asylum. Some are using men and some are using women and children as a ploy to get in. And some are criminals. We know that. They've admitted so on television. Why should the United States allow those people into the country unvetted, unsolicited?
I think people understand that you want to vet who is coming into the country, but it's the president's tone using words like nationalism and globalism.
Well, look, the word globalism is not, I've never heard that term being a xenophobic word. You know, this president, last week we had a disgusting massacre take place in Pittsburgh where some deranged lunatic went and killed a number of Jewish people while they were at worship. And you know what the president did? The president, who, by the way, has a Jewish son-in-law, a Jewish daughter, and Jewish grandchildren, he went to that location and he was accused of being anti-Jewish, if you can believe this. This president has done more for the Jewish people than any other president in history, but he doesn't get credit for it. So he's not anti-Semitic. Look, the mainstream media wants to disparage this president for treating everyone the same. Being a globalist means you're not putting America first. Justin Trudeau doesn't put other countries first, he puts Canada first. And that's the difference. This president is putting America first for a change. That means that's not anything other than being proud of your country and being there to represent the people who elected you to do it. Now, I know other countries don't like it. It's not America alone. It's called America First. Just like every other world leader puts their country first, except we're criticized for it because for too long, we've been taken advantage of, and we've been, unfortunately, had bad trade deals, and this president said no more. And it's time for other countries to step up because the United States can no longer be the policeman of the world.
Doesn't it behoove the president and the office of the president of the United States to be above where others are in terms of tone and rhetoric, to unite people and not to make it more divided?
The president did exactly that when he went to Pittsburgh last week to honor and respect the Jewish individuals who were killed at synagogue. And you know what the media did? They criticized him for going, said he wasn't welcome, and that's shameful. Look, the media has a significant role in the tenor and tone of what takes place. If you look at CNN and other major networks who say that the biggest plight to our society is white men, that's what Don Lemon's statement was. I mean, that's a disgusting thing to say, and there's been no recourse. They've had individuals, commentators on there who said that Donald Trump has recruited more terrorists than ISIS with no recourse. It's disgusting. That's the type of tone and tenor that those individuals had, and that is what is unfortunately, by and large, leading to the problems that we have in our country, which is the individuals on those channels, on those shows, using rhetoric which goes unchecked. And unfortunately, there is no pushback on it because it's okay to do it when you're on the left, but if you're a conservative, it's a bad thing.
If you see white nationalist groups picking up on the words, why not denounce that?
What white nationalist groups are you talking about?
The KKK, for example? Why not say to these groups, there is no space for you here?
I know you're aware of how many times the president has denounced the Ku Klux Klan on numerous occasions. I don't know what online groups are doing or who's following them. I think it's very clear the president wants nothing to do with that. But you have to remember, look at Antifa, which is the movement on the left. Their only goal is to cause chaos, to light cars on fire, to wear black masks and go around and destroy things in this notion of that they're supporting democracy against the president. It's completely outrageous, and there has been no call from the Democratic Party to prevent that from happening. As a matter of fact, just recently, we've seen the former chief law enforcement officer of the land, Eric Holder, say when they're down, we kick them. We've seen Hillary Clinton say you can't work with these people. We've seen Maxine Waters encourage violence by encouraging people to get in the face of elected officials and members who serve the Trump administration. Where is the call for civility on that side? We never see that by the mainstream media.
The president condones body slamming of reporters overall in terms of the broader tone, particularly when it comes to the press. Do you think the press is the enemy of the people?
Look, I'm very concerned about some of the way the media operates, to be very clear. Look, Don Lemon just this week made a statement that if it was made about an African American or a group of African Americans, there would have been a massive media outcry. But CNN said they weren't going to address the issue. CNN had a correspondent on it this week who said that Donald Trump has recruited more people to terrorism than ISIS. It is such an outrageous, egregious thing that those people have responsibility to the American people for the words that they use. There were no apologies issued. There was no clarification made. As a matter of fact, Don Lemon actually doubled down on his statement, and that is an outrageous thing to say. But you know what? The American people are smart, and they see right through the lies and the propaganda of the media, and that's why the mainstream media now has about a 15% approval rating, because they've gone from reporting the news to making the news. And those people aren't elected, but they are trying to set a tenor and tone to incite chaos in this country. And come Tuesday, Election Day, the American people are going to support the Republicans and the Trump-Pence agenda to keep our country economically secure, nationally secure, and militarily secure, because that's what this agenda has been able to achieve over the last 2 years.
Corey Lewandowski, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.